From Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, and the home of hot chicken, it's the Rick Altizer Show. Sit back, buckle up. Rick will talk with the movers, shakers, and creators who put Christ in Christian entertainment. He's a man who's clear so the world can hear. Here's Rick Altizer.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. That was Bob Allen, the voice of the Rick Altizer Show. And, you know, a lot of times, I guess it's kind of pretty much every time I say, I'm really excited about my guest today. That's because usually I am excited about my guests, and I don't make that up. That is true. But I am especially excited today about my guest. Of all the guests I've had, this would have to go into one of the most important people I've ever interviewed, because today I'm interviewing my mom.
Yay!
Kathy Stephenson is my mom, and I'm going to, for the listening audience, I'm just going to refer to her as Mom. So that's, and she's comfortable with that, right?
That's my name. Yes, absolutely.
Kathy Stephenson is my mom. She's been my mom for my entire life. And people are going, why are you interviewing your mom? I go, hey, it's my show. I can do whatever I want. But I thought it would be interesting because my mom has had 3 kids who've all pursued acting, filmmaking, singing, music. All of her kids have pursued that. And many mothers have kids who want to be a singer or want to be an actor. And so I thought this would be a good show to just kind of share some of the things my mom has learned, some of the things she's been through, in hopes that maybe this will help you navigate. You've got a 12-year-old and all of a sudden, Mommy, I want to be a singer. Mommy, I want to be an actor. And you're kind of going, gee, I'd really rather you wanted to be a doctor. But, okay, we'll deal with this. So that's what this show is going to be about. So, Mom, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited and really honored to be here on your show. I love your show, and I love you, of course.
Well, I'm glad it works out that way, Mom.
Yeah, it worked out that way, and it's always been that way. And I have to say, to start out with right now, I wish I had known the Lord better when I was raising you. I had a sense of it, but not like I do now. And I think that when I think about the times when you were growing up, you loved music right away, and you wanted a drum set. And when you were little, we got you a drum set. It was a small one. It wasn't a real professional one, but you wanted it and you loved it and you liked playing it, and it made you really happy.
I terrorized the neighbors and everyone in our house with my loud banging.
And then it got even louder when you got the big drum set.
Because then we would have, the friends would come over and we would jam in our garage.
Yeah,
and we'd play the 4 chords we know over and over and over.
So that got to be very exciting. I thought, I have an ingenue here. He's going to be a great musician. But no, seriously, though, because you had this great love for the music, and the other kids had their loves for things in the liberal arts. And it was important for me to encourage you in whatever it was that was your passion in that sense. And I did try to encourage you, and I think that that's something that most parents try to do. And it's like you said, many of them would prefer that they don't go into this field because it's very competitive, very difficult to make money in, and there are other options that they thought would be better for their children and might still think that. I don't know. I think now, if I were starting it now, I would pray and ask God, where do you want these children to be? Can you tell me what I should do to encourage them and to guide them into whatever it is that they love? I think God has gifted all of us. I believe that with all my heart. We have a gift for something. If we have the gift, we're going to do well in it, and we're going to love it, and we'll go forward in it with passion and excitement and love, because this is what God gives us as our talent. Now, you had that. You had that inside of you anyway, because God took you when you were 13 years old. Mm-hmm. It didn't really have that much to do with me. I have to say, the way that you went into your career and your love, you had this great love for music. You told my brother it was your life. He said, why are you always listening to records? You said, it's my life. And my brother said, it's your life listening to music? And yeah, it was. So then you did that, and I was happy that you were doing that. I had no qualms whatsoever about you listening to so much music. And it helped you in so many ways. I can look back now and see that this was really great.
So I'd like to take a step back. So I pursued music. I went out to Los Angeles. I was a staff writer for Warner Brothers and Warner Chappell out there. Your other son, I have a younger brother. He went to USC Film School to make films. He wanted to be a director. Your daughter, my younger sister, went out to UCLA to become an actress. So you had, and you in Knoxville, Tennessee, at WBIR, you were the action reporter. You were on TV as a reporter. So I wanted to ask you first, why do you think all of us had this interest in this field?
Well, there was something inside of us that pushed us into it. As far as I'm concerned myself, I wanted the attention. I'm going to be honest with you. When you're in this kind of business, you get a lot of attention. And sometimes you get approval. Sometimes you don't. But I think we wanted the approval. But when I look back on it now, I see it as a gift. And it's something that I think it's God-given, that the Lord leads you into, and He wants you to do this. And if it's meant to be, you'll do well in it. I didn't do that great. I was a reporter, and I had some talk shows later on in the PBS station in Knoxville, and I loved it. I just loved doing it. But I never did go forward with it, in the way that I wanted to. And that was, I think that was totally God's will, and it goes the way He wants it to go.
Well, you talked about wanting attention. And I think that is a big part of the attraction for certain kids, why they're attracted. They want to be on American Idol. They want to be a singer. They want to be so that brings up an issue for us as parents to take a step back and go, okay, my kid really wants attention. Why is that? What's going on? Why do they need attention so much? And as I'm parenting them, as husband and wife, mother and father, as we're parenting them together, what can we do together to talk about this? Okay, is there an unhealthy desire here for attention? Are we not giving them something? Do you think that's something that parents need to be thinking about? If they have a child that's like, just, I got to be a star, going, why are you wanting so much attention? What is that all about? Do you or do you think I'm like being too analytical, too, counseling, whatever about it?
No, I don't think you are. I think a lot of it comes from your childhood when you don't get enough attention. And maybe you and Scotty and Gina didn't get enough attention, and you were both drawn into that field. In Scott's case, you don't get that much attention as a director. You're behind the scenes. And when he started his work, he was behind the scenes. He wasn't one that had to be in front of the camera. Gina, on the other hand, wanted to be an actress. And she had a lot of work, commercials and extra work that she got. And then she got married and had family, and then that was the end of that. So maybe all of that's a part of it. I think another thing that draws people to celebrity is they love celebrities. Celebrities are very popular in our culture. We're all attracted to that, and we want that for ourselves. And so it could be, probably is, a combination of different reasons why we choose the area of our, career or whatever we want to do in life.
I love you're listening to the Rick Altizer Show, and my guest today is my mom.
Yay.
Which I love this. She's in visiting from California, and she came up to my office, and I said, let's do an interview. So we're talking about navigating as a mom. She had 3 kids who all wanted to do entertainment. One was an actress, one's a filmmaker, and I was a musician. And then now I've transitioned into a filmmaker. So, it's so weird how I'm still in that field. still doing that kind of stuff. But I know for me, we're getting back to celebrity, because I think this is a big thing that we need to talk about in our culture. And we got moms and dads right now listening to this on the radio going, man, you're talking about my kid. This is what I'm living right now. So I think this is interesting for us to discuss the almost the idol of celebrity in our culture, where we've idolized celebrities. And I know for me, I wanted to be Bruce Springsteen. I mean, I wanted to be big. I wanted, I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was about approval, wanting approval, but it was proving to the world that I had this gift and this talent, or this, or that I was a somebody, that I was, royal blood or whatever, thinking I was all that or whatever, and wanting to prove that, no, I am special. Yeah. There is something special about me. And that was like a driving, now that I'm looking back on it in my older age now, looking back at that 15, 16-year-old who really had that desire to be special, to be seen as someone who was special and gifted and different from other people. And I see that today with the kids who are desiring that. Talk to me, if you can, about how parents can speak into that today. A parent listening today, how can they speak into that desire that their kids are having in a way that maybe helps them see in a new way?
Well, I think that we all need to walk with the Lord on all of these things that face us in life. And sometimes parents think that their children can't do things, that they're not, that they don't have the talent for it. They can't go forward. I think it's good to encourage them in what they love, what they want to do, and what they have a heart for. I think if you go into prayer with your children, I think God's going to lead them in the direction He wants to go. And like I said, I wasn't into that when I was raising my children. But I can see now how very important it is. I heard a wonderful sermon by Charles Stanley the other day, and he was talking about the words you speak to your children, how they can affect them in a good way or in a bad way. And so I think it's important to be very serious with your child and ask your child, what is it in their heart that they feel drawn to? And do they think that this is from the Lord? Is this something that God's put onto your heart? And to just have that talk with them. And then also, I think that if it's biblical, David was a great king and a great musician. He was he wrote the Psalms, and he had this heart to do this. And so you think, well, God loves music. I think that music in itself is just the most wonderful. It's an international kind of a thing that people feel, and they can get happy with it, and they have great feelings for it. And I think that if you think not even if you think your child, you have to, I think the best thing to do right now is to stick with the Lord on this and ask God and pray about it and ask Him, is this what you want for my child? I think that's the best way to go through it. I didn't have that experience, but my kind of personality was just to be encouraging. And I encourage all of you to go for your dream. And that's kind of the thing, that we hear in our society a lot. Follow your dream. Well, maybe your dream's God's dream, and maybe it's not. The way I look at it is, if it works out, it was meant to be. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be. You had a good career in music. You've done well in film. I think you definitely have the talent. Of course, I'm your mom.
I know.
I think you're great.
Mom.
I do. I love you.
I love you too.
And I think that Scott and Gina had a talent, but they decided to go different ways because of the way their lives turned out, which is fine.
Right.
But you have what I love about it is you still get this experience, even if you don't go forward with it. I'll tell you what, I loved television. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I could go back and see things in places that I had been that I never would have been before. It was a great adventure for me. And having that experience on my part as the mom, I wanted that for you too, because it's a great adventure. Anything in the arts is wonderful. And I think you either go that way for the rest of your life or you don't. But give it a try if it's in your heart to do and if it's your dream.
And then, for me, I had that encouragement. You always encouraged me. And Dad was a musician, and he was encouraging me to do music because that was kind of like fulfilling a dream he always had. So from both sides, it was pro. I got a lot of encouragement to do music. You never complained about my loud drums. You never complained about me bringing in the band and making all this noise. But racket. It was racket. You got to admit. I mean, we were just making racket. But, I was learning. But I never... I think there's, on the one hand, there's the encouragement, but then there has to be a motivation and a drive to become skilled. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we can encourage our kids, oh, you're great, but not encouraging them to get better and to get skilled. And I felt like I didn't really get good till I was in my late 30s, and that time when I could have had a career early on, I just wasn't good. I wanted it. I had the desire, but I didn't know how hard I had to work to get good. And so I've had my son, your grandson David, on the show twice, and he's in an LA, very successful YouTube channel. Also, got a podcast, so he's kind of in the business and doing well. But I remember early on, he started playing guitar, and he was good. He got good quick. But and so I was encouraging him, but I didn't want him to stop at just good. And so I said to him, you're good. And that's great being good. And you know what? If good's what you want to be, I'm fine with that. You don't have to be anything other than good. Mm-hmm. But don't think it's great, because there's only one way to be great, and you have to bleed. You have to have blood on your fingers, literally. That's the only way to get great, is you have to work so hard. Mm-hmm. And I love you and I'm happy and I'm proud of you. If good's all you want to be, that's fine. I'm not saying you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. You are for me. Mm-hmm. I totally accept you. But great is a whole other thing that takes so much work. And so I instilled that early in him. Mm-hmm. And my other son, Matthew, is a drummer. And, he had aptitude, he liked to bang on things. But, he didn't really get really good at what he was doing until he got in drumline and was in a world-class drumline that then competed in a world competition, went to number 13 in the world. And from the hard work, I remember one week he had a 70-hour week. They worked him so hard, but he worked so hard, and that's how he got good. So, seeing that hard work ethic was good for him to see, oh, I'm an okay drummer now, but when I work really hard in drumline, I got really good. And now he's, a very skilled drummer. And I think that's important for moms and dads who maybe aren't musicians. I'm a musician. I come from that world, and I saw how hard I had to work. And it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I figured it out. Oh, I got to work my brains out. That's how I do this.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't just go on, I'm having fun. No, I have to work so crazy hard. I have to work 5 times harder than anybody else will if I want to be successful at this, because there's 18 billion people who want to do it. And so I think it's important for parents to recognize if your child has talent and if you think they are good, then to encourage them to greatness requires investment. It requires work. I remember Chloe Kohansky is a singer who won The Voice. And her parents brought her over to my house, came over to my house when she was like 12 and said, we think Chloe's good, but we'd like to know what you think. So will you listen to her? And so I put her in my studio and we sang, and I told her, I said, yeah, I think she's really good. We started working together. I did probably maybe 60 songs with her in the studio, working with her as a young teenager, working up, discussing what her range is, what's good for her, what's not good for her. And then but her parents were, investing, finding somebody that they knew, okay, we think she's good. What do you think? And so they went outside and tried to help her get better. And then that's an interesting thing to navigate, is how do I encourage them to get better and to grow once I see this? So how do you, when you see something in your kids, when did you start noticing with your kids that they had a propensity to these things? And then how do you encourage that when you see it?
Well, I think what you said is absolutely the way to do it. I didn't particularly do that. I have to be honest. I didn't do that. I took my kids to the studio, to the TV studio, and got them, a little acclimated to what goes on over there. And we did, some commercials and stuff. And, but I think what you said, I think when a parent sees this talent in this child, then take them to I agree, take them to someone who's an expert in the field, take them to someone who's very talented, but someone who's able to teach them and help them too. And that's what you did with her. And I think that was perfect. That's a great thing to do. I personally did not do that. And I want to mention something else too. I didn't say it. You brought it up about your father. He did play instruments, and he did have he loved music. And, it might be genetic, too. Mm-hmm. We're talking, where does this come from? It could, part of it could be genetic. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think that when you see your child really drawn to a particular art form, then if you can help them in that way, the way her parents did, that's the best way to do it. I personally did not do that. But, if the child's good at art, then put them in art school or take them to a part of their high school education where they can get extra art teaching or join the art club or the drama club and encourage them and see where it goes, because only God knows how it's going to go. We don't know. But I think that when you see these things in your children, you want them to develop and to be happy and to have a career that they love, that they're happy in, that fulfills their passion. That to me is so important if they have that, because to me it's a gift from God, probably. And you want them to go in that direction. And so I think you just have, like I said too, just pray and ask God.
Gotta pray.
Ask the Lord.
You are listening to the Rick Altizer Show. My guest today, my mom. And, something I told David, when I was young in bands and doing, early, I think looking back on it, I think I was insecure. So I didn't want to work with people who were necessarily better than me. I wanted to be the leader. And so I was writing the songs, and I was the leader, and it was obvious to everybody I was the leader, and writing the songs and singing the lead songs, and I think out of my insecurity, that hampered my ability to succeed in music. And so what I told David, which is excellent advice that he took to heart, and he really did. I said, you want to surround yourself with people who are more talented than you. Mm-hmm. You want to be surrounded with people who are smarter than you, mm-hmm. who are mm-hmm. better than you. Who, whatever it is, if they're an actor, a singer, songwriter, filmmaker, you want to be around people who are much better than you. And you want to be the least talented person in the room. That's what you want. So that always brings you up. And then you get involved with a group of people who are so crazy talented, mm-hmm. and they're bringing you along because you grow that way. And so I didn't really grow because I didn't do that. And so I gave David that advice, and he took it to heart. And he went out and started making connections with people who were, kind of doing what he wanted to do. So he'd take him to coffee and get to meet him. And next thing you know, they're hiring him to work for him. And then he's working for the guy that he was, kind of idolizing, well, not idolizing, but, looking up to. Mm-hmm. And now he's working alongside mm-hmm. and now being seen as a colleague. So I think that's great advice, too, is when you see that gift in your kids is to encourage them to work hard to become great. Mm-hmm. Great just doesn't happen.
No.
Great is hard work. And to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and more talented than you.
And in addition, I don't think everybody, and not all the children, want to be great. They just want to do the music or do the acting. But I think that it gives them such a great sense of accomplishment to do those things that they love. And I think, too, that as they go along, God's going to open the doors and God's going to close the doors. So however it works out, I always feel it's up to the good Lord.
That's true. And God does gives us giftings to be used for His glory. And for me, it was a long struggle of fighting it for wanting it to be for my glory. And it never really seemed to work out. And then even if something would come, it was empty, because when it's for my own glory, it's just, what a waste of time. And then, leading worship at a church or doing things for God's glory, it's so much more fulfilling. Mm-hmm. Some of the most fulfilling musical events of my life have been in worship leading, have been in writing and creating songs that are very Christ focused. Things about the scripture memory record that I have and things like that that's what has been most fulfilling for me. Doing things that are about the kingdom and not about building my kingdom, which is empty.
And God put that on your heart.
God gave me the gift and the desire for His purpose.
Yes, and that's great. That's what we all need.
So you have been listening to the Rick Altizer Show, and this has been an interview with my mom. Mom, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's been an eye opener for me too.
This has been so much fun
great.
doing
I love
this.
It. I love you.
My mom. So what we're going to do after this, I want to turn off the machine. We're going to go get some Chinese food.
All right. Can't wait.
All right. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Thank you for being on my show.
Praise the Lord, son. Praise the Lord.
All right. If there's a show you've missed, you can go to my website, rickaltizer.com, and catch up. Or you can listen to my podcast in iTunes or wherever you hear your podcasts. Just search for The Rick Altizer Show. Altizer is spelled Altizer. I want to thank you for listening. Hey, would you tell a friend about this show and share the love? Be sure to check us out again next week as we discuss how we communicate the gospel through media to our culture. Let's be clear so the world can hear. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.